TNA Wrestling crosses the line again with another action-packed episode of TNA Impact as we are now just 1 week away from the Emergence pay-per-view, which sees the return of the Ultimate X match, which we are very, very much looking forward to on this channel. Now, to give you a brief overview of what happens on Impact this week, Matt and Jeff Hardy will continue their feud with the System, headlining the show against the System. Moose and JDC in that match, which will be the main event of Impact this week. Also on Impact this week, two more qualifying matches for the Ultimate X match. I think it's the final two qualifying matches for the Ultimate X match at Emergence. This will pit Hammerstone, will battle Kazarian and Kushida in one of the matches, while Jai Vidal takes on Laredo Kid and Bhupinder. Yeah, that's a difficult one. A Gujar, I'm going to say. Apologies if that is wrong, in the other match. And probably what promises to be one of the best technical wrestling matches you are going to see in wrestling. NXT's Charlie Dempsey, I believe, of the No Quarter Catch crew, mouthful, will return to battle Mr. Octopus himself, Jonathan Gresham. We are also set to see a continuation of a battle between PCO and the problems he's been having with Matt Cardona in a mixed six-person tag match. PCO scheduled to team with Rhino and Zaya Brookside to go against Cardona, Delanda, who is PCO's wife, and a mystery partner. And Cardona would only agreed to this match if Delanda would be on his side of the team, which is fairly interesting considering where we're going to get to. Considering the fact that Steph Delanda is PCO's wife. Strange one, but we'll get to it. Also on tap this week, Alicia Edwards, one half of the Knockouts champions, will take on Rosemary. Right, that was enough of the overview. Let's take you to the action. And wow, what a way to kick off Impact this week. It was Hammerstone, Kazarian, and Kushida for the right to qualify for the X Division Championship match at Emergence, along with Speedball Bailey. There's a few others in there. This was a fantastic opening to Impact. They once again started the show very, very hot indeed. A great contest with this. Three guys who just Kaz with the experience and the know-how. You got Kushida, who's got a combination of different styles, and Hammerstone, who is just a freak of nature in this. Pit three guys that complement each other so well in this, and they just went to town in this opening contest. I really loved it. There's a few near falls. The Kushida went for the mist. There was a load of other bits and pieces in this. Go out your way to see. I mean, to be honest, there's not many matches on TNA Impact this week that I won't say go out of your way to watch. This was a great opening. The Rampage Ricardo Arona style for Kushida. Sorry, not for Kushida. Hammerstone gets the victory and he qualifies for the Ultimate X match, and that has just got a whole level of more interesting with Kushida in the mix. It's going to be incredible to watch that match. And on top of that, at Emergence, by the way, on top of that, you get a 60-minute Iron Man match that pits Nick Nemeth defending the Impact Wrestling Heavyweight Championship against the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. That is worth the money alone. And then you throw Ultimate X in there with some of the incredible athletes you're going to see in that. They've just given you two matches right away that you might as well just go and buy the pay-per-view. Go to the TNA Plus app, sign up, sort the subscription out. For that alone, it's worth it. For what you're getting on Impact Wrestling week after week after week is worth every single cent, dime, dollar, pound, euro, whatever you pay for your money. It is absolutely worth it. So head on to the TNA Plus app and make sure you get subscribing. Hammerstone qualifiers. However, that wasn't the end of proceedings in this. He leaves the ring and Kazarian decides to take out his frustrations on Kushida. He hits him with the fade to black and poses over him. So Kazarian, not a happy bunny that he didn't get into that X Division match, but nevertheless decides to make an enemy of Kushida, which may or may not be the best thing to do. We will see how that happens. Perhaps next week there'll be some more. But Gia Miller was backstage with Eric Young. She was talking about Hammerstone having a lot of momentum going into their match next week. So match next week, Eric Young, Hammerstone for you guys to watch. Another great, there's a rematch as well. That match has happened before quite recently, but it's a great match of, experience. Eric Young, the veteran, Hammerstone, the strong, hard hitting, powerful guy. Really going to make for an interesting match next week. And Young basically said at this point, maybe he never makes it to Emergence when he beats Hammerstone's face in. However, Steve Macklin interrupts and tells Young, like always, I will be watching. Macklin looking to cause mayhem already and seemingly has Eric Young and maybe Hammerstone in his sights. We will wait and see. Santana was next, and I love this vignette. He was sitting in a chair. He was talking about having the system to thank for knowing what kind of monster that he needs to be. And he vows to come to the system one by one until he cuts the head off the snake. Now, if you remember last week, they had a match with Moose and all of it all kicked off in there. So Santana has been on a roll since he's come back to TNA. His vignettes are so good. I mean, he's one of those guys that I tell you what, and I know he used to partner with him before. There is a lot of like Eddie Kingston in Santana. The heart on the sleeve promo, when he talks, you listen. There's a believability about what Santana says, and it gets you engrossed, and it makes you believe he's seriously going to cut the head off the snake. That takes an awful lot of talent. It says you can talk to the day or to the night is young about whatever. We talk on here all day and all night, but it's the believability about what he does, and it's the way that you project that out into your voice and for the plans to believe. And Santana does that fantastically well. Really, really interested to see him going after the system. He's been on a roll. Loved him over at Progress as well when he come over recently a few months back, and looking forward to seeing more of Santana week in, week out. Now it's time for Rosemary against Alicia Edwards. Spoiler alert for you NXT and TNA fans. This is a spoiler. I'm just about to tell you if you haven't already read it. Maybe you want to cover your ears if you don't want to hear it. However, Rosemary next week is on NXT. She does make the jump over to NXT as part of the trade or whatever they do, as part of the partnership that they're doing. And now you're going to be seeing Rosemary on NXT next week. I'm so looking forward to that. Deserved immensely. Rosemary has been a stalwart of TNA wrestling, and I'm not saying that she deserves it like it's a promotion, but it's going to get Rosemary on that bigger stage, not a bigger stage than TNA. That's sign of harsh, but gets her in the WWE, watches her on NXT. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what Rosemary does next week. But this week, she's got Alicia Edwards of the System. And yes, she does have the knife in hand, does Rosemary. It seems not sure if she's going to have that next week on NXT, but we'll see. This was a really good knockouts match, actually. And Rosemary, like I've already mentioned, has got the experience. Alicia Edwards has got the background, and obviously with her husband as well, Eddie, she's got that connection into wrestling, and she does a lot of work together. They do a lot of work together outside of the ring, so you can see that taking off in the ring. I obviously Masha Slamovich is at ringside as well. On there, there was some really good moves in this. There was a big spear from Rosemary off the ropes. When the momentum was going the other way, she hit that big spear. She does a running hip attack, and the X Factor Slamovich grabbed her ankle at that point, and that was when Jody Fret and Danny Luna comes out to take care of Slamovich. Rosemary hits the finish on Alicia Edwards for the win. She then lays over, grabs her bag, pulls the black rose out, crosses Alicia Edwards' arms, and lays the rose on her. Really look, again, it was a good knockouts match. The Spitfire in there, they want the titles back as well. Probably going to see that emergence. But Rosemary, since she's sort of come back into this, there's a kind of a new side of it, kind of a freakish side to her as well, with the gothic style look that she's got as always, or more of a gothic than more. She used to be more of like a horror film. It's like a gothic look now. But we will see Rosemary next week, as I said, on NXT. We wish her well, and hopefully we can report back next week when we do the Impact review and let you know how Rosemary's done. Next, we saw a vignette from Ash by Elegance, and she introduces the idea of match by Elegance in a response to a recent challenge from Jordan Grace. So she wants another shot at the Knockouts Championship. I don't think this is a wise move from Ash. I think that perhaps let somebody else have a go at Jordan Grace and leave alone for the time being. But we'll have to wait and see. Seemingly, we're going to be getting Ash versus Jordan again. I'm not sure what a match by Elegance is, though. Maybe people can enlighten me on that, or maybe we'll see it when they have their match. Could it be next week? We'll have to wait and see. But I don't want to be picking fights with Jordan Grace. If I was not even me, let alone Ash. I think you're making a bit of a mistake there, Ash. But we will see. We will see. Okay, so it is a 6-person match now. Xia Brookside comes out. Out comes Rhino. Out comes PCO. His bride, Steph DeLander, comes out. And then Matt Cardona comes out with a microphone, not in wrestling gear, which he points out. He said Santino Arillo didn't do his due diligence. He said the doctors won't clear him, but he has brung 2 mystery partners to go and assist him, to go and assist Steph DeLander. Those mystery partners were the baddest man in TNA, Con, who's had his issues with PCO, Monsters Ball, and all of that jazz, and Madman Fulton. DeLander didn't look happy about this, and Cardona was shouting at her from ringside as DeLander was pointing at the wedding ring. This was just crazy. This one, a crazy 6-person tag. It's so always good to see Rhino. I'm looking forward to seeing Rhino in October. Actually, a good friends of ours, Slam Masters Wrestling, have got Rhino and Moose actually from TNA. I'm really looking forward to seeing them over in Wows in October. So it's always good to see Rhino in the ring. Or the ECW chants always follow him everywhere he goes. Con is really good. I still think there's so much differences from what you see of Con in TNA to what you saw of him when he was part of the Ascension in the WWE. And he can move. He's got some good strength. Obviously, he's a big guy. But there was so much more to him, and I'm so glad that we're seeing that on TNA. We haven't seen him a lot since Monsters Ball, but I think you need some time to get over that. It's not something that you can just quickly come back from. So, it's good to see Con get some action as well. Of course, Cardona gets involved at ringside. He was choking Rhino over the bottom rope. DeLander got on his face actually when he hit Rhino the second time. DeLander was getting in his face. DeLander asked Rhino if he's okay as well. So there was that bit. I still don't know about DeLander. I just don't know. I still think there's something not quite right there. Maybe it'll finally come out, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, the match is actually really good. It's a crazy, crazy one. But PCO does well. There was a gore. Zaya Brookside stops Fulton as he head to the top rope. He's got PCO slammed him off the top rope. He got the gore from Rhino and the PCO salt from the win, which means Zaya Brookside, PCO, and Rhino pick up the victory in a crazy six-person tag team match. Really enjoyable though, as much as TNA always is. They had a great video package actually, that showcased the 60-minute Iron Man match from Nemeth and Alexander coming up at Emergence. I would really look at watching that. It's really, TNA have really sort of upped their game a little bit. Not saying the production was ever bad at all, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just hitting the right notes with this now. It's so it just gives you, it makes everything got that big fight feel, and this match absolutely should have. There's no doubt about it. Nick Nemeth, one of the best wrestlers. To be honest with you, he was always one of the best wrestlers to ever go in the ring. Walking weapon, Josh Alexander, literally exactly the same as Nick. It's gonna be a hell of a match, and the video package they done, it just elevated it that little bit more. Even if you didn't need elevating, they done it. So good. We'll get to the Ultimate X was coming up in a minute. Laredo Kid, Jai Vidal, and Bhupinder Guljar. Apologies again for getting that wrong. But before that, Jordan Grace. She responded to the Match by Elegance challenge from Ash by Elegance earlier in the show. She did say that she should know now not to try and surprise her with a special stipulation, that she's proven with her open challenges she can be surprised and still comes out on top. So that means that Steph Delander has accepted the Match by Elegance by Ash by Elegance. And we'll be seeing that very soon on TNA. As we already mentioned, the next, I think it's the final triple threat match to determine the final competitor in the Ultimate X match. This was Laredo Kid, Vidal, and Guja. Again, really solid encounter this. I mean, the twisting moonsault, I tell you what, there from Vidal actually was brilliant. He hit a twisted moonsault off the ropes. There was a pin attempt. Gujar braked it up, and then they got into a bit of a match, a bit of a hair pulling match, actually. Reminded me of a bit like the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels backstage brawl, to be honest. And then Laredo Kid hits a 450 splash onto Vidal, actually, to win and qualify for that match. Really impressive. Laredo Kid, haven't seen him in a while. So it's good to see him back, and tremendous. I mean, you want someone like that in the Ultimate X that's going to do some 450s, and that's really what the Ultimate X is all about. You remember so many spots that have happened in those matches over the years. Kazarian been the king of them, really, as Mike Bailey was saying to us recently on the channel. But that's the type of guy you want in that match. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but in terms of what he can do in that ring and everything he can do is total test. If you put X Division on a dictionary and you wanted someone to describe it, it would be someone like the Laredo Kid with what he can do in the ring. Now, backstage, Rich Swann and AJ Francis was having words with Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, and Speedball Bailey has accepted a title match with Rich Swann for next week on Impact. So a few days before he's scheduled in the Ultimate X match, Mike Bailey, he's putting the title. I mean, what a match that is going to be. Rich Swann, Mike Bailey should be an incredible match next week on Impact. I, for one, am very much looking forward to seeing that next week. That has got the makings of a fantastic wrestling match, an encounter that not to be missed next week. Speaking of matches not to be missed right now, this should be the technical wrestling. It is a fine art, technical wrestling, and it isn't for everybody. And it is technical. How can I sort of explain this? Technical wrestling, like I said, is a fine art, and it isn't for everybody. Lots of people like all the twists and the flips and the super kicks, but this is kind of grappling at its best. A lot of holds and maneuvers and reversals, and and immediately, like on this one, Dempsey was going to work on the arm aggression. Gresham, and literally the fans were already chanting, "This is awesome," because they knew what they were getting. There was loads of exchange of controls of the backs and forths, and this is exactly, it's all about talk about judging a book by its cover in a good way. This is exactly what this match is about. This is technical wrestling, what it should be doing, and it was a very slow-paced, methodical, amateur wrestling style grappling contest on the mat. This is, you know, again, it is a very sort of, I wouldn't say niche, but out of all the styles of wrestling, it's probably the style that not a lot of people, everyone talks about how great the matches are, but not a lot of people will say I'm a technical wrestling fan. That's how it is. Anyway, it was this match, and it was working over Gresham's arm, and you know, they stood up, and I did hear after this is awesome. There was a little bit of this is a boring chance, but I didn't get that because if you know what technical wrestling is all about, it's exactly what they were doing. It really is. And Gresham took Dempsey down and controlled him by his arm. It was literally a real sort of mat based match for a good 5 or so more minutes, and then Gresham hit the first move in the hold for hold catch as catch can contest. They knocked the pro wrestling cap off and go for the test of strength on there. It was all kind of uh, everyone was still test of strength. It was all holding their hat. It was all kind of like the hand lock pin attempts were going on, and they were popping up to their feet, monkey flip on the overhand. They repeated that a few times. The fans started getting into it more so than ever. And then Gresham got a pin out of nothing, out of nowhere. And that was it. It was like, wow, just as it kind of, it was kind of how they were doing it. Were doing a slow build, like the match was going to go on for another 10, 15 minutes, and they were just starting to, I would say, get into their groove a little bit with the moves, and Gresham rolls them up for a pin. And it was kind of like, we're going to give you what you want. Now we're going to finish it. I think that may lead to another match later on down the line where perhaps they get a bit quicker into that sort of stretch of moves that everybody wants. I mean, they did try and brawl with Dempsey tried to brawl with Gresham after at the end as well. Um, you know, I think he hit Gresham with more punches in the aftermath than he did during the bell to bell the match because it was so technically sound and technically based. It was quite funny, but nevertheless, technical, as I said, technical wrestling is that fine art, and I think people need to understand it before they could appreciate actually what they were trying to do in the match. And perhaps, to say, cutting it short is their way of giving you less, but making you want that more. Just as it gets a bit exciting, they cut it off. So there we go. We did see some more of Joe Hendry in NXT and Zachary Wentz on there as well. And then the music of the Hardy Boys hit, and Matt and Jeff come out. There's also a birthday bash and appreciation night for Jeff Hardy coming up in Louisville, Kentucky. Interesting to see. Great to see the Hardys as ever. Really, really enjoy watching those. There is all the "You Still Got It," the nostalgia chants, as they do for the Hardys, and it is so, really sort of, I would say, sort of like your standard Hardy Boys match, which you still love to this day. Jeff's gonna get the kick in, the hot tag to Matt is coming, you know. It was, brilliant. There was the usual twist of fate, the leg drops, everything, the middle rope elbow drop from Matt Hardy. Um, it was so good. Love this tag because they have got that bit of animosity between the two teams. Well, Jeff Hardy, a side thing, was wearing the face paint as well. And there was a part of it when they even done it the other way. Matt took the punishment, then got the hot tag to Jeff, and he flew in like a man on a mission, and he was going crazy. He does the Russian leg sweeps, and he was hitting the whisper in the wind and all of that sort of usual stuff. He went to hit the twist of fate. It was countered. This was probably one of the Hardy Boys' best tag team matches. Look, let's just be straight up there. In AEW, it wasn't great. It didn't. Whatever happens, it didn't work. We hadn't seen a lot of them in TNA enough yet. We saw them obviously go for the tag titles, and that got thingied. This week was the Hardy Boys that we've known and loved for so long. It was brilliant. It was so good, and at the end they hit the Swanton bomb, for the victory on Dango. The "You Still Got It" chants, but it wasn't the end. Moose and they tack the Hardys at the end of this, and he puts the boots to him, and out comes Santana, and he comes out and he puts the boots to him until Myers and Edwards come out, and in the system have the numbers game. But then they say his name, and he appears. Joe Hendry comes out. The fans go crazy. Him, Santana, the Hardys, clear house. The fans chant "We Believe" as the whole show goes off the air. What a TNA it was. It was fantastic. Guys, listen, it was a great TNA this week, as it always is. Next week on TNA, we have Mike Bailey versus Rich Swann for the X Division Championship. We have Eddie Edwards versus Mike Santana. Joe Hendry versus Brian Myers. Bullet Club ABC versus Cody Deaner and Jake Something. We have Hammerstone and Eric Young. We have Ash by Elegance versus Jordan Grace in the Match by Elegance for the Knockouts Championship. And Nick Nemeth and Josh Alexander have their final face-off before their 60-minute Iron Man match at Emergence. It is shaping up to be one hell of a pay-per-view. Make sure you download the TNA Plus app and get on that, subscribe, and get Emergence, get your Impact every week. If you're watching it on TV, AXS TV over in the States, and over here in the UK, good old-fashioned DAZN will get you your weekly dose of Impact. Guys, keep it locked to our channel at HTT Buckle on Twitter, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast, all other social media platforms. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.